I think in having a small business background, being running a small family farm, you're used to change, you're used to balancing a budget, making payroll, and so I think my small business background and community interest in helping set up the Apple Harvest Festival that we have in Fortuna, partnered with the city, and we're in our 23rd year of putting that on. And I worked with a group to help found the, in fact I was the founding president of the Fortuna Concert Series, and did that for about 7 years. So I think being connected to the community, and my business is kind of a destination for a lot of people, well, and really in Humboldt County as a whole. And so I feel like I've stayed connected to a wide variety of people, and I think between my connections to the community and business background and enthusiasm for being able to see us economically thrive, yet at the same time take care of the place and look to restore maybe some of the areas, our rivers particularly. I think that makes me stand out as someone who's got the right ideas and ready to get it done.
Do you have any like sort of solutions towards intermingling the northern half of your district in with the southern half of your district, and to alleviate the necessity of pot growing as the economic sort of fuel?
Well, I think looking for like, in the, you mentioned the development of Fortuna. I think having some kind of looking ahead for some, make sure there's some land available, and a trained workforce to diversify the economy, and look for being able to have some industrial and manufacturing land available, and really work to court businesses that would be a good fit. Would provide some alternatives, so that it wouldn't be like, okay, I'm going to work at work retail, or I'm going to work in the drug industry. I mean, I think we definitely want to have some more here.
Now, without a rail and without the access to the bay, it puts Rio Dell and pretty much any of the more inland little towns at a sort of a economic sort of disadvantage, correct? What can you think of that would entice a business to come to open up there and to prosper?
Yeah, well, the businesses are going to prosper are going to have to work with the basically they have Highway 101 as their link, and having Confusion Hill repaired, and I think the realignment through Richardson's Grove that allows the STAA trucks available. I think that'll release the bottleneck on both getting goods out and getting goods in.
Do you see Headwaters funds available for prospective commercial building?
Yes,
possibly.
Sure, that and the McLean Foundation Fund as well. Those funds were primarily set up, in the 2nd District, and there haven't been a lot of application in those. So I think government having kind of working with the private sector, partnering with them to, see that there's land available, look at some of the trends like they've done with their targets of opportunity, see where there's areas, for potential growth in the county, and then try to work to see that those ideas get funded, and I think it's always the private sector that's going to create the job. The government's not going to just plunk a job in somewhere, but I think they can.
But the government can certainly lend a helping hand.
Sure, be ready to assist and have a business-friendly attitude.
Now, in terms of increased transit service, bettering the road system, and so on, how would you pay for it? There's been some criticism of the board as it's constituted in terms of fiscal conservatism or lack thereof. The former Supervisor Rodoni was a swing vote on the $300,000 golden parachute to the former county council, Tammy Fowler. Where would have you fallen on that issue in particular, and in general on who gets to bear the burden of maintaining and increasing these services?
Well, on that particular vote to the former county council, you know, it's a personnel matter. It's in confidential. You know, it's in closed session. I couldn't comment on, you know, whether that was justified or not. I'm aware that it wasn't a unanimous vote. I feel like as a small business person, I've always worked in a fiscally conservative manner. The job of a small farm business demands that, and I think you know, the budget at the county is quite a different animal. I think I would carry forward those same attitudes of you know, if you don't have it, you can't spend it, and try to think, you know, long term, so you're not lurching from year to year. Like, you know, don't spend a lot just some years just because you have it. You know, try to make sure that it's targeted to a need and a service, and be looking ahead so, you know, you're not caught short when, you know, the economic times get tougher.
Do you have the same sort of outlook towards the To-Be Ranch?
To-Be Ranch, it would be really nice if parties had come together, the county and Bob McKee had come together at an earlier stage, and it hadn't gotten to that point. Many of those votes, again, were closed session, but those were typically 5-0 votes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so you know, it's regrettable that so much money needed to be spent on both sides to solve that. It looks like at least they're partially gotten through that.
As far as a general rule for all the candidates in the future, in terms of campaign contributions and so on?
I think you know, it is a lot of money that gets spent, but the system requires that you spend a fair amount of money to try to get your message out. I think in the 2nd District, I think our campaign has actually raised the least money, but we have an incredible volunteer effort which is compensated for that. And I think we have, I think my candidacy is really viable because it's incorporated a good group of Southern Humboldt folks with a fairly new to the process group in Northern Humboldt, Fortuna area. And so I think that's been the strength of my campaign, has been a really strong volunteer effort. Great campaign manager in Bill Thornton.
Obviously, it's a strange runoff situation in your district in particular, but in general, there's been criticisms of the runoff system as perhaps not being most reflective as possible of the will of the voters. Would you be interested in a county charter process that would move towards an election reform such as instant runoff voting, also known as ranked choice voting, which they use for County Supervisor down in San Francisco?
I've paid a little bit of attention to that, but I don't know enough to know whether that would work in Humboldt County. Obviously, in the 2nd District, we have a very unusual situation with the death of Roger Rodoni but that campaign continuing, and the way election law bears on that. This is really unusual for all of us, but. I think the general comment I would make is that any election that and any reform that more accurately reflects the will of the voters is always positive.
Humboldt County voters are reminded to cast their ballots on or before Tuesday, June 3rd. For all of us here at the Humboldt Sentinel, this is Charles Douglas reporting from Old Town Eureka.